So the Eagles have their biggest test of the season so far in the Rams, yet while they're ready for it, Los Angeles might not be. In this video, I'll share what I mean by that, get you prepped for Sunday's action, and look into why you can bet on A.J. Brown finally getting off the mark. Plus the latest on injury updates, who's in, who's out, as well as everything else you need to know about these two sides. So let's talk about it. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Apologies about the voice. Got some sort of sickness thing going around, but we're okay. We're pressing on. First early game right around the corner, and as we do on this channel, the giveaway is for any Eagles jersey of your choice. So all you need to do is go down to the comment section, let me know who the first touchdown scorer is, and as long as the Eagles win, then you've got a shot to win one. Of course, this week is definitely going to be a challenge since LA's coming in with a lot of confidence and hoping to get some revenge for the NFC Divisional game. Plus, I don't know if you realize this or not, but this is a contest featuring the youngest defense in the NFL versus the oldest offense in the NFL. However, while that could be viewed as an advantage for either side, the Eagles have won 9 of the last 10 matchups. And better yet, it's been almost 10 years since Sean McVay's had a team that beat Vic Fangio. FYI, that was all the way back in 2016 when Kirk Cousins was in Washington and Fangio was the defensive coordinator of the Bears. Granted, I expect the game on Sunday to be close, but this Philly defense is much better than anything Fangio had back in 2016. So like I say, as long as the defense does their job, then all you got to do is pick the first touchdown score, and one of you lucky subscribers is going to win any Eagles jersey of your choice. Now, you could go with Jalen Hurts because the Tush Push seems about as automatic as anything. Except given the new recent developments, I'm going to be very curious to see how the Tush Push plays out on Sunday. Because in case you hadn't seen it, the league office sent training videos to NFL referees and teams telling them that this play should have been called for false starting against Kansas City.
Did you see the memo about this?
Look, in a vacuum, yes, that's a false start, but also my other question is, then do they also remind them to throw a flag if the defense is lined up that far off sides and into the neutral zone? I mean, technically, if we want to go based on rules, nothing is a false start if the defense is already in the restricted area when an offensive player moves early.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
If you don't like the play, get rid of it if you're the league. I mean, run the play. Everybody can run it. It's not that hard. I don't know. It just seems unnecessary. It's kind of old, so make a decision, figure it out. But we'll run it till we can.
Okay, yeah, given the extra scrutiny, I wouldn't blame you if you stayed away from the Tush Push this week just to see how things play out. However, going with Saquon makes a whole lot of sense. After all, he was the first touchdown scorer last week and has scored in back-to-back games. Plus, we all remember how dominant 2K was against Los Angeles last season, when Barkley rushed for a career high on the road and then went over 200 yards again in the playoffs. Now, the crazy part is that he did that facing a heavy box on 88.5% of his rushes, turning 2 of them into ridiculously long scores. Well, actually, I say that, but the Rams somehow completely forgot about those plays. After they posted to brag earlier this week saying, "We are 6-0 and have not allowed a rushing touchdown in our last 6 road games." So what was the NFC Divisional game?
That never happened.
For the record, yes, I get it. They're going on for regular season games, but this is why I really can't stand the idea of all these stats and records and everything else. They're cool, but especially when you start cherry picking, they're meaningless. Which, by the way, is something A.J. Brown couldn't care less about.
No, I'm not an analytics guy at all.
No.
You know.
And why not?
I mean, I think you judge all that just about what you do when you get your opportunities. You know. And that's something, like I said, something that you can't control.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you go and look at it from the data analytics standpoint, I mean, obviously you're gonna find what you're looking for. But as wide receivers, you know, you're judging your performance of how well you played, how hard you blocked, and all those things, and you know, the numbers you put up.
I'm telling you, this has to be the week for AJ. I know it's been hard, but this week is almost like a gimme pick. Although if you really want a gimme pick, then make sure to get signed up with Underdog. Because this weekend, believe it or not, is their NFL weekend, meaning everyone gets 2 gimme picks. That's right, that includes existing customers. But it gets better for new customers because they get 3 gimme picks and a massive 75% boost on plays this weekend. All you gotta do is scan the QR code or click the link in the description and sign up with code PHILLYSPECIAL. I'm telling you, as one of the official season-long sponsors, you guys knew I'd come through for you. So scan the QR code, use code PHILLYSPECIAL. You won't find a better discount than on this channel. Like I say, I'm sticking with AJ because at some point he's going to break out. I'm calling it this week. You could tell me I'm crazy. I was wrong the last week. I thought it would be against Kansas City. He had an opportunity for a first touchdown, but this week he's going to break out, especially because the Rams are focusing so much on Saquon. With Barkley even saying earlier this week, you'd be a fool if you're going to let us walk into any stadium and your focal point is not stopping our run. So yeah, it's left AJ to expect there's going to be a few more opportunities coming his way this week.
It could be good for all of us, not just for me, but for all of us, I'm sure he's going to be up for the challenge. I'm Saquon and the O-line, but when our numbers call, we just try to be ready and make the most of the opportunity.
By the way, for the AJ naysayers, the biggest issue this season has been the fact that the Eagles keep seeing zone. Heck, the Eagles have faced man coverage on only 10% of dropbacks this season, which is down from 27% last season. Now, we all know A.J. Brown is the very best in the NFL against man coverage, yet with that even being the case, Brown has run 8 routes versus man coverage this year, only 8, and been targeted on 4 of those. Meanwhile, he's run 47 routes versus zone coverage and been targeted on just 5 there. But as you know by now, the Rams are down a starting cornerback at Ahkello Witherspoon, so that plays a huge factor. The Rams may try to play more zone if it's Emmanuel Forbes, if it's Williams, whoever it is. I'm taking A.J. Brown. They're trying to get out of this funk. I believe they will. They've talked about it all week. Again, I mentioned last week they probably would have had a touchdown there, but it is an extra focus. You got to get AJ on the board. So I'm going to take him first touchdown score, AJ Brown. Now, the other play I'm going with is Saquon Barkley to have a run longer than 18 yards. Again, kind of going for the breaking trends plays, but the longest run through 2 games for Saquon has been 16 yards. Fortunately for 26, though, the Rams currently rank 17th in rushing defense, and I think Barkley can get to the second level against LA. Of course, with all underdog pick-em plays, you do have to take one opposing player, so I'll take Davante Adams to have over 4.5 receptions this week to round out my plays. After all, through 2 games, Puka is 4th in the NFL in receiving, and Adams is 13th. However, it's actually Adams who has 1 more catch than Nakua with 21. And I'm sorry, I know that Adoree Jackson's played much better against Kansas City last week, but I'm not anywhere close to trusting him yet, so give me Adams to hit the over on receptions.
They have a great offense. Their scheme is really good and tough to prepare for, tough to play. They got a great quarterback operating it. They got now 2 great receivers. Sean does a great job calling the game. He's a really good play caller throughout the course of a game. It's a extremely difficult assignment.
By the way, if you want to tell those plays, I got a link down in the comments, so feel free to tell them, come hang out during the live stream. We cheer on the Eagles together and the picks as well. Again, just scan the QR code, use code PhillySpecial, and you can get bonus funds plus a free gimme pick. Now, the other matchup to keep an eye on is the Eagles' D-line versus the Rams' O-line, especially in the interior, because it's looking very likely that LA will be without starting left guard Steve Avila with an ankle injury. And once he was out in Week 2, the Rams allowed 10 pressures, with 6 of those coming against their guards or their backup center. So naturally, the assumption is they'll be double-teaming Jalen Carter. Talked about that previously, also the preview with Jake Ellenbogen. But the fact that they're going to do that, it absolutely makes the case for Moro Ojomo, Jordan Davis. They've been feasting so far this year. Limited snaps, but with them in the rotation there, it feels like another potential for a sack. Which, it's a pick your poison versus the Eagles, but that might not be the best idea. Just like it's never a great idea to mess with a Rocky statue before playing the Birds. Granted, technically, the Rams didn't mess with the Rocky statue, but they did mess with the Rocky makeshift movie poster imitating the Philly legend while swapping out Stafford.
I said that stuff on TV didn't bother me none.
Yeah?
Did.
You're right, it probably doesn't affect anything, but at the same time, I would argue it's not like it helps it, so why just poke the bear? Anyway, as far as the weather is concerned on Sunday, it's looking like we'll get our first game without any worry of rain, with AccuWeather saying temps should be in the mid-70s, no rain in sight, and wind at about 10 miles per hour with gusts up to 17 miles per hour, aka basically a perfect day for football. And when it comes to injury updates and players available, the Eagles got some great news with Dallas Goedert officially good to go, as was Jalen Carter and Byron Young. Meanwhile, Tanner McKee is still questionable with a hand injury, and Will Shipley is going to take another week with the oblique injury, so he'll sit out. Overall, good news. However, for the Rams, they're not so fortunate because guard Steve Avila is doubtful, tight end Colby Parkinson is questionable, and defensive end Braden Fiske is questionable. So like I say, already not great, but then you see the tweet from Rams beat writer Adam Grossbard that Fiske actually did get in a couple sprints while his teammates stretched on Friday. The thing is, he took off his jersey afterward and walked into the training room with a staff member, so they listed him as questionable with limited work, but he didn't even get in that amount of work. Like, it's not impossible, but that means it's very likely that he's not playing on Sunday. Look, I get that it's one game at a time, but this game has huge ramifications, especially looking at the schedule, so take care of business here. There is a whole lot to play for. And with that being said, I had Eagles writer Anthony DiBona on to provide a couple more insights on what to keep an eye on for Sunday.
I feel like an underrated topic is that the Eagles' offensive line hasn't exactly been the dominant unit that we've kind of become like accustomed to seeing in Philadelphia, right? I mean, Jalen Hurts has been able to escape a lot of these would-be sacks or get rid of the ball in time, so they haven't allowed a ton of sacks, but at the same time, they're giving up a good amount of pressure. And I shared on Twitter how Landon Dickerson, I still don't think he's fully healthy. He's obviously battling through 2 injuries. He wasn't on the injury report, but just watching him, he doesn't look like himself. I mean, Chris Jones, who's granted one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, got the better of Landon Dickerson multiple times last week. And it's not going to get any easier this week with, like you said, the Rams defensive line that did sack Jalen Hurts 7 times in their last meeting in the playoffs. I mean, Jared Verse and Byron Young kind of lead that group off the edge. And then you also have Kobe Turner on the inside, Braden Fiske, if he does play on the inside as well. Those are 4 legitimate threats that the Eagles kind of have to account for at all times. And that's a dangerous young unit that's got a ton of promise, a ton of potential. They're second in the NFL in sacks right now as a team with 8 through the 2 weeks. So it's going to be a huge test for the Eagles. I know everybody's focused on the Eagles offense, like the passing. Like if these big boys up front can't protect and stop the Rams pass rush, it could be a long day for the Eagles offense.
I've seen the comments before as well of like, how he should have signed Mekhi Becton, all this other stuff. Gone to the extreme of some people saying Tyler Steen's a bust. I feel like that's a little bit of an overreaction. It's like, okay, look, maybe he hasn't played the best, but to me, I'm looking at that offensive line. I'm not saying that, Tyler Steen is the one reason that they've experienced all the other issues. It's multiple facets and multiple guys who are at fault.
Yeah, I think he's done relatively well given the situation that he's kind of been thrust into as, like you said, like that 5th guy next to the 4 other Pro Bowlers or all pro. Like these guys are some of the best at their position in the NFL, and Tyler Steen's kind of the outsider, but he's fit in relatively well given what he's had to do. And this, like we mentioned, this test is going to be tough for him, and it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it. But at the same time, kind of on the flip side, the Eagles defensive line versus the Rams offensive line is going to be a tough matchup for the Rams offensive line as well, because Matthew Stafford was sacked in 5 times in each of their 2 matchups last season as well. So it's not like just the Rams pass rush is the problem here. And the Eagles pass rush looks better against the Chiefs. I mean, they did blitz a lot, but their front is going to get to them as well. So it's going to be really fun to kind of see the battle of the trenches on both sides of the ball.
I'm glad you brought that up because so far the Eagles have only had 1 sack, if I'm not mistaken, 1 sack through 2 games. They didn't have any, obviously, through the Cowboys game. They were super close, and Dak was able to slip out of those. That was still kind of frustrating.
Hunt almost got there.
Almost, man. I mean, Moro Jomo, he almost got one, Thankfully, he did finally against KC, but it's like, man, you're just waiting for that. Now, I know that Stafford gets the ball out quick, super fast. He only had 1 sack against the Titans. Take that for what you will. It's Tennessee. But as you said, 5 in both those past matchups. It's the NFL's youngest defense versus the NFL's oldest offense. But I think the bigger part to that, the bigger part that plays in it is the fact that you have Vic Fangio versus Sean McVay. And unfortunately, just like the Eagles have won 9 of the last 10 against the Rams, Sean McVay has not had much success against Vic Fangio. So I know that he wants to prove something, and eventually maybe he will. Some people have thrown out the excuse of, and I say some people, it's obviously from one particular side, but the excuse of the divisional game, they lost it because of the weather. And quite honestly, if anything, the weather, maybe we're biased, maybe I'm biased, but quite honestly, the divisional round was closer because of the weather. Like the weather helped them in my mind. I don't know. Is that crazy? Does that ring a bell with you? And also just the Fangio McVay. Fangio certainly had the advantage regardless of conditions.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, even non-Rams fans, I feel like bring up like, oh, the Eagles would have lost that game if it wasn't for the weather. And if you literally look earlier in the same season, the Eagles dominated the Rams in Los Angeles, right? And I mean, and in that game, Jalen Hurts was sacked only 1 time. And so it's like you look at in the snow, like maybe they had the advantage. Like we don't know. Maybe that's what even the playing field and why Jalen Hurts got sacked so many times, why the offensive line couldn't anchor against their pass rush. Like there are so many different factors and what ifs to throw out there that I kind of just like to look at what happened. And the Eagles ran all over the Rams in both games. I know Stafford was able to throw and Jalen Hurts wasn't able to throw in the snow. Like that was a factor as well. Like there's all these different things that go into it. And I feel like they kind of just, depending on what side you root for, how you're going to view it, right? Which is fair. That's part of being a fan. But even if you look like unbiased, we saw them play on a level of a playing field as there could be in a dome, and the Eagles got the better of them. And then obviously in like the weather conditions that we saw with that blizzard, and the Eagles got the better of them. So maybe now if it's outside, it's a 1 o'clock game, it seems like it's going to be clear skies. Like, I don't know what the excuse is going to be now if the Eagles win, but Sean McVay hasn't had a lot of luck against Vic Fangio. He's also 0-3 against Nick Sirianni. So I don't know what the Rams fans are going to break out if the Eagles win this one.
Well, I'll tell you what it's going to be, and I think you know where I'm going with this. It's going to be the tush push. The game was won in March, as Adam Schefter would say. The ridiculousness of, yes, it's a great play, right? And I will admit this. I think a lot of people admit this. Having the tush push, having something in your back pocket that is a guaranteed first down getter when you're 1 yard or shorter, yes, it absolutely changes the game. Totally get that. Because when you run a play where most teams have to say, hey, it's third and whatever, they have to run past the sticks. The Eagles don't. The Eagles can literally be like, we're going to run 1 yard short. Because if we catch it 1 yard short, we'll go for it the next play. So sure, it's an advantage, but it's not a like end all be all. The only reason they're winning is because of the tush push. So I think it's kind of ridiculous for that side of the argument. I know that people want to continue to bring it up, but at this point, like where the tush push is and the NFL, I know that everybody's seen it by now, but like the call it closer, call it tighter. They send it to the league officials. They send it to teams. They're like, hey, that should have been a false start, which, you know, again, I mentioned this earlier in the video as well, but it's like they don't say anything about being in the neutral zone. It's clearly a neutral zone infraction. Like, you can't tell me that a defensive player's helmet is that close to the football and that's not a neutral zone infraction, but, you know, nonetheless, they're going to call a false start. I just wonder, does it end up affecting things to where, you know, now we're going to see, hey, the Eagles about to run a tush push play, right? And then, oh, there's a flag. Oh, okay, now it's 4th and 5 or 4th and 6 instead of 4th and 1. It's ridiculous. They couldn't ban it before, and now it feels like it's their in-season banning of sorts that they're trying to go for.
That's exactly what I think they're trying to do, and I tweeted that thought out when the report came of the memo being sent around the league that they went over and they want the officials to call it tight or whatever. To me, that just means that they want to find a penalty on either side of the ball on that play basically every time, right? Just because, like, to basically void the play and seeing it at all. Like, either the Eagles are going to have a false start or there's going to be a neutral zone infraction or something. They're just going to keep calling something to make it just to kind of get rid of it, because clearly that's what they wanted to do in the offseason. Roger Goodell didn't get enough votes, it seemed like. I don't think it was a coincidence that the only team without an actual owner was the team that kind of pushed for it and proposed it. And then, you know, I feel like now the guy's retiring. Like, there's a lot of fishy stuff going on. There's a lot of theories you can get into with that. But I mean, it just seems like this is what they wanted all along. And it's kind of why I wanted to see it get banned in the offseason, because I knew this was exactly what was going to happen. It was going to be a topic all season long. It was going to be the excuse for any of the Eagles' success, or if they sucked at it, it was going to be an excuse for their downfall, right? Like, it was just the tush push was going to be the conversation and not the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm just tired of it. I whatever they want to do with it, they're going to do, and it's only a matter of time before it's actually banned. But unfortunately for now, we're going to have to deal with this controversy seemingly every week.
I love what Landon said. Again, I played it earlier in the video, but like, do what you want. Make a decision. If you're going to ban it, just ban it. Just get done with it. If not, then move on, and we're going to run it this year as many times as we can. I understand the sentiment. Some people, I forget who said this, so apologize not to give credit because I can't remember. There was someone on a video who commented and said, I would love to see if the NFL came in and said you could use it like 2 times in a game, like challenges of sorts.
You get your tush push flag,
odd, but you know, hey, we're going to go ahead and run the tush push, right? Like, I understand the sentiment. Colin Cowherd brought this up. Lane Johnson even echoed the same sentiment of saying, you know, the fact that we've run it like 20 times over the first 2 weeks probably doesn't, you know, bode necessarily as well, because the NFL's like, look, we hated the play. But to have to deal with it 20 times, and especially being in Kansas City where Roger Goodell was present at that game and watching it, you know that eventually by the 7th or 8th time, he's like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we're watching this thing. Are you really? Like, they're going to run it again? Yeah, okay, sure. Go ahead. So he's so sick of it. And I understand that. So maybe it was the running it too much. If it only been like 2 or 3 times in a game, it'd be like, we hate the play, but you know, we'll let it go because it doesn't matter. But it's just every single time. So I understand it a little bit, but it's still hilarious to me because the complaining, and it's like initially it's all about health and safety. And now you haven't heard anything about health and safety because no one gets injured on the play. Then it moves to the next excuse. Well, it's an unfair advantage. and the offense is false starting, and there's you shouldn't be pushing players about, well, we don't know how to officiate it. Dean Blandino, a friend came on the show earlier in the offseason. At least he's maintained consistency. He's been staying on the same side. I can appreciate that, even though we totally disagree there. But it's like, he even admitted during the broadcast, he's like, guys, I'm done. I'm just so done with this play. It's impossible to officiate, blah, blah, blah. But it's just, you can tell the agendas and who has it out for it or is trying to push the narrative that the NFL wants, like an Adam Schefter when he goes on and of all things, this game was lost in March. So if it happens against the Rams, it'll be like, well, whatever, just keep crying, I suppose, because the Eagles have other successful reasons for why they're winning games.
It's so frustrating. And especially now, and I tweeted about it, the fact that the NFL has 10% stake in ESPN or whatever it is, like, and now Adam Schefter is kind of like this puppet that Roger Goodell can just operate and pull the strings and say, listen, let's say it was lost in March. Like, this is what's going to get people to hate this play. I was just like, I don't know. It sucks because, like I said before, this is what I expected to happen and just to be this hot topic once again. And it's just annoying. And it seems like even the Eagles players are kind of tired of it as well. So, but it is going to be funny because once it is eventually banned or outlawed, whatever they want to do, they're just going to do the regular quarterback sneak, which they did at a higher clip and converted at a higher clip than the tush push. So I don't know what they're going to say then. It's just like, I don't know. It's crazy.
It'll be unfair. They'll say you can't have a left tackle the size of Jordan Mailata or something. It'll be just ridiculous. It's because we've seen it a number of times that Jalen like falls to the left side almost every. So it's just a clear out by Mailata and Landon Dickerson, and then Jalen just will take it that way. But they gotta have something to complain about. Meanwhile, the answers, because we won't get an answer to that, I'm sure, even though people are going to keep talking about it. But the Eagles do need an answer for the zone defense. That's blatantly obvious. Teams are trying to push in that direction more so. We're not overreacting and freaking out about it like some national reports are, media members will. But still, the Eagles are facing, I think it's only been like 10% of man coverage up to this point in the season, which it was 27% last year. That's not a high clip, but it's still a significant difference and a drop from that. So you see teams are probably looking at that from last year and looking at the tape. Understandably, when you say A.J. Brown is the best receiver in football, man-to-man coverage, well, okay, you might try to shift some things. Can the Eagles find an answer against the zone? Because I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think you would be either. A lot of other people. It's like, look, if they're having some success and the Eagles are having some struggles and being basic, boring, whatever we want to call it, but not able to either take those shots or not willing to take those shots, then you got to probably have some zone beaters until you can kind of open up the defense, maybe get them back to man coverage or things like that. But do you see them having answers? And I guess maybe two-part question to that. Do you see them having answers to the zone against the Rams specifically?
Well, it seems like in the past, it was like A.J. Brown was like your man-to-man beater. You could always go to him against man. And then Davante Smith was like the zone beater, right? Like all statistics basically said like Davante Smith dominates against zone coverage and then A.J. Brown dominates against man coverage. So hopefully this means that Davante Smith could have a big game and we could see more of like those crossing routes where he could take advantage of those voids and find the holes in the zone coverage. But you also can't fault teams for going to the tape, looking at the numbers and seeing like, wow, Jalen Hurts' numbers kind of fall off a cliff when he goes against zone coverage and compared to man coverage. Like, and you're also like, from a strategy standpoint, you have to account for Jalen Hurts as a runner, right? So if they're going man to man, they're usually turning their backs to the quarterback, chasing their man, focusing on their man. Whereas in zone, everybody can kind of drop back, sit in their zone, keep their eyes on Jalen Hurts, where if he does escape, they can just pursue him moving forward. Like you don't have to worry about turning your back to the quarterback. It's the same reason why quarterbacks don't like under the center play action, because they have to turn their back to the defense. And when they turn around, it could be a whole different picture. Like the defenders don't necessarily want to turn their back to a guy like Jalen Hurts that can make plays with his legs. So it's going to be something for Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, because I think all three of them have a say in the offense that they need to figure this out, because obviously teams are going to keep doing more and more zone coverage against them until they can prove that they can figure it out. Obviously, the passing offense hasn't had a ton of success, but the Rams defense as a whole has been really good over these first 2 weeks. Granted, they played two AFC South teams, so I don't know how much of a test that is compared to what the Eagles have, but looking at the numbers, they've allowed one offensive touchdown the entire season, which was kind of an absurd play by Cam Ward where he scrambled to the right, threw across his body into the end zone.
Just
ridiculous
it
play.
up there.
Yeah, I mean, but that was the only offensive touchdown that they've given up. And they're first in points allowed, second in sacks, like I mentioned earlier, with 8 sacks. And the Rams, the 49ers, and the Packers are the only three defenses with over a 40% pressure rate while blitzing less than 25% of the time. So they're getting pressure with their front four, their front defensive line without having to send extra guys. So it's going to be a huge test for the Eagles because coming off a week where they saw a ton of blitzes against the Chiefs, now they're going to go against a team that doesn't necessarily have to blitz to get pressure, but they're going to be probably sitting in zone a lot too. So we'll see how they adapt, and I think they can. They've done it before in the past. It's just a matter of actually getting it done.
We'll see. That's one of the big areas I'm hoping for. I know everybody wants to see that, the offense just open up. It'd be great if the Eagles, if they score 30, they have the answers against pressure and zone coverage and everything. Yes, that's what we all want to see. A.J. Brown needs to get on the board, everything there. But on the other side, defensively, Adoree Jackson, we said this last week, it wasn't feeling as good, feeling better because he played better against Kansas City, but the number of comments, which I'm kind of in between also, I'm like, yeah, he played better, but it's Kansas City, and there wasn't a whole lot of options there. I mean, I want to give him some credit, but this is Puka Nacua and Davante Adams this week. Are you confident in Adoree Jackson?
I mean, I feel like I kind of have to say that I am, even if I don't really believe it, because I did put out that article before the season where I said
you could change your tune. You could change it.
Bring a relatively high floor at the position, but obviously week 1 he got cooked. Week 2 he bounced back. Granted, it was against Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton, right? So drastic drop off from CeeDee Lamb to George Pickens. Now you're going against a wide receiver duo that's arguably better than the one that they faced in the first week, and with a quarterback that gets the ball out faster, that's more efficient. Like, it's going to be a tough test. And one of the things that I'm focused on is the usage of Puka Nacua, and because previously in the first 2 years of his career, he was not used in the slot a ton. He was 29.9% of his routes were from the slot in 2024, 30.3% of his snaps were from the slot in 2023. But this year, 61.1% of his snaps so far through the first 2 weeks, very small sample size, but they've been from the slot. And obviously, if you're Sean McVay, do you want Puka Nacua going against Cooper DeJean, or do you want him going against Adoree Jackson or Davante Adams? Either way, clearly you want them outside against Adoree Jackson. I think that's a no-brainer. So seeing the usage of those two players against Adoree Jackson and trying to single him out, and obviously he's the weak link of that secondary, it's going to be interesting to watch. I do think he can hold up, but I think it's going to take some special scheming from Vic Fangio to kind of give him a little help, shade the coverage to his side, and kind of do things differently.
Prayers for Adoree Jackson. I took the over as far as Davante Adams for the catches for that very reason, unfortunately. I feel like he's going to give up some catches, hopefully nothing major, like just, he's just playing off or whatever. I don't know. We don't need like massive game-breaking stuff, right? Like, I'll live with it's just, okay, hey, Davante Adams had 6 catches, 80 yards or something like, whatever. Someone's going to get theirs. I'm already preparing. I hope that it's a pleasant surprise and we're like, man, he's another week. There you go. Make an improvement, but we'll see. Speaking of picks, though, again, and we do this every week, it is time for the predictions. First touchdown scorer. Everybody else, feel free to drop your comment. You should have already done it already, but if you haven't, drop your comment. First touchdown scorer, chance to win a Eagles jersey, any one of your choices. If the Eagles win, then be picking one lucky subscriber at the end of the game stream. But first touchdown scorer, we have not hit on that. Eventually, we're going to get this thing going. Who are you going with?
Well, one of the teams that we did hit on last year was the Rams, because I believe I picked Kyren Williams.
Yes, that is right.
As the first touchdown scorer. So I'm going to keep that trend going where I'm going to pick an opposing player. I went super chalk last week. I believe I said Jalen Hurts, and obviously I think it was Saquon Barkley scored the first touchdown for the Eagles. And so, I mean, this week I'm going to go for the Rams. I know people won't like to hear that, but I think the Eagles could win the coin toss, elect to kick, or maybe they have a 3-and-out. Everybody boos the offense. They think it's the end of the world. Kevin Patullo should be fired, and the Rams kind of march down the field. But kind of digging through the first 2 games, one interesting thing that I found is that Davis Allen, one of their backup tight ends, has 2 catches in 2 games. Both of them have been for touchdowns. So I think the Rams might march down the field, get into that red zone area, do some type of play action, catch everybody off guard with Davis Allen kind of slipping out, and he'll get the first touchdown of the game.
Wow, that's a bold choice. I can respect the fact that you're going to go out there and put it on the list, because that's not a chalky pick. I don't know what that is necessarily the odds wise. If somebody's feeling confident, go with that one, because I have to imagine it pays out really well. I'm a lot more chalk on my side, I guess. I'm sticking with last week, which I guess if I just keep doing this all year long, the odds are I could get one of these. I'm gonna say AJ Brown.
he's going to get off the spot. One of these weeks, it's going to happen. I think that the synchronicity, as they were saying in the press conferences, getting the communication on the same page, the offense needs to get better. They probably would have had it last week had there not been Can't Blockatera, blocking for the tight end spot. But maybe it's different. Dallas Goedert's back. Take a shot, or just get close. I mean, AJ had a touchdown against the Rams last year in LA. So I'm going to say AJ Brown. Score predictions, though, as long as you're saying the Eagles win, then people give you a little bit of a pass for saying Davis Allen.
Yeah, it's funny because over the first 2 weeks, I think I went a little bit closer with my score predictions, and people might think like, oh, this is the game that should be close. Much better team. Maybe they potentially even lose. But for some reason, I think the Eagles just have the Rams' number. Vic Fangio has Sean McVay's number. I think Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, they've been hearing all the talk, the offensive line. This is going to be the game where I think they come out firing and kind of put up an impressive numbers, and the defense kind of locks them down. I'm going to go Eagles win 27-17, extending Sean McVay's record to 0-4 against Nick Sirianni in his career.
Whoa, I like that. 27-7. Okay, I'm closer, quite honestly. And I said this on the last video, so I'm going to remain consistent. I felt like maybe going a little bit more, but I'll stick with it. I said 24-21, so it's a close one. I really hope that it's not. It's funny because you look at the games, and it's like every single game has been decided by 6 points or more. Like it's not a whole lot of really close games between the Rams and the Eagles, and naturally the Eagles have won almost all those, 9 of the last 10. But I think it's. I really hope to be proven wrong, honestly. Like I mean, I would love like a 31-17, 31-20, just no doubt, and the offense is firing all cylinders. Eventually, I think that we'll get that, but unfortunately, I just can't bring myself to it yet. I guess because I haven't seen it. I don't know. Maybe that's too pessimistic, but 24-21. I'm going with the Eagles. They still win, so either way, that'd be great. Would be 3-0. Tampa on the horizon, but. Lots of things to take care of first before we get to Tampa and everything else there. So feel free to let us know. You guys drop a like. Let us know your score predictions. Also, again, first touchdown score. Get in on the giveaway there. Come hang out on the live stream. And you should be following if you're not already, but make sure to follow at DiBona NFL. Anthony's got you covered for all the latest info, all the roster moves, things that you didn't even really care to know, but then all of a sudden you realize that that's actually much better, and you should be knowing that. Stay up to date with the Eagles. Be following Anthony. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Go Birds.